Maruti Suzuki's People Technology presents Suzuki Connect with Navigate to Car and many other features.
Watch more, feel more. Dell.
Well, on the same surface as the West Indies played Bangladesh in yesterday's afternoon fixture, Sri Lanka have got exactly the same as the West Indies got batting first. 142 is what they've managed at halftime. We'll figure if they're the happier team on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket Foot T20 timeout powered by Dell. Mahela, Jayawardene and Ajit Agarkar. Who's happier with 142? Ajit?
I think South Africa. I mean, it is a competitive total, but it doesn't seem to be that bad a pitch or that difficult a pitch. I mean, you saw that over of Rabada as well towards the end, where guys could hit through the line. It may not be as a flat pitch like Abu Dhabi or a Dubai, but I think 142 South Africa, Sri Lanka will have to bowl really well. It is competitive, no doubt, but I think South Africa might just be happier.
Mahela, would you go with that?
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, Sri Lanka had a lot of hiccups in that middle period and no momentum, especially during that 9 to 14, 15th over. So even after going through that period, Sri Lanka still managed to get 140. So I tend to agree with Ajit that there's not much demons in that wicket. I think sensible batting, couple of partnerships, Sri Lanka easily could have got to that 160 mark. I firmly believe that Sri Lanka was 15 runs short on that wicket, and having one batsman, getting that big 70 runs, the others did not bat around him. So I think it's below par, and Sri Lanka will have to bowl really, really well to and pick up wickets to control this South African batting line.
Yeah, more than half the runs in that innings of the bat of Pathum Nissanka, who now boasts of his highest T20 international score, 72 for him, bettering the 61 he got against Ireland earlier in the World Cup. It's another individual effort that overshadows an overall collective batting performance. Mahela, what's stopping Sri Lanka from just having that all-round batting effort together from what you've seen today?
I think it's just the game awareness in that particular situations and how do you manage that. I mean, we see partnerships building and then another run out. I think the batsmen have to put bit more value on their wicket, dive. Even if you get run out, it's fine, it's inches. Like if you dive, you probably have a chance. And then the batsman who's following up a bit tentative on a slower wicket, it's very difficult to play against the spin, trying to rotate strike. You're better off hitting those hard short sweepers, hitting straight lines, and those tentative batting, stops Sri Lanka from building those partnerships, building those momentum. Again, Sri Lanka failed to, put pressure on those spinners, especially Shamsi. I thought he bowled really well, but couple of soft dismissals, and Sri Lanka never had that momentum. So those are things that Sri Lanka is being pulled back in most games. I mean, you see the potential is there, you see the skill set is there, but it's just the execution out there in the middle, and the game awareness is something that is lacking from the Sri Lankan batting group.
3 for 17 for Tabriz Shamsi. Ajit, number one ranked T20 bowler, loves his celebrations too. Now, were those wickets brilliant spin bowling, or was it just some innocuous, soft cuts and bowls and whatnot?
Yeah, I think Mahela just said it. I mean, he bowled well and he does bowl well in T20 cricket. There were some loose balls on offer as well, but a lot of soft dismissals. I mean, you can see in every inning that Sri Lanka has batted, one guy stood out, and you can see how much talent there is. And there are different guys who stood out, whether it's Asalanka or Pereira at times, and today Nisanka. So there are enough guys, Hasaranga at times. So they just can't put it all together. Unfortunately, the talent's clearly there. If they put that together, I think that they'll be very difficult to beat, particularly with the bowling that they have. But Shamsi did what he could while there were chances offered. He just tried to keep piling the pressure on, and Sri Lankan batsman kind of made it a little bit easier. So good bowling, but I think the dismissals were a lot to do with Sri Lanka's average batting than exceptional bowling, if you like.
Yeah, key point being the run out as well, Mahela, of Asalanka. Just seemed to, just when Sri Lanka were getting some momentum.
Yeah, definitely. I thought, I mean, South Africans were under pressure to bowl those spin overs in that middle period, the way the two guys attacked the spinners. And there was a clear opportunity for Charit to, even probably go after Shamsi as well after that over. And there was a break coming up. I mean, we saw in the last game as well, Sri Lanka tend to lose momentum just before the break or soon after the break, and it's the same pattern continues. I think, it just game awareness, game sense in those kind of situations, and, not taking those extra risks. Obviously, run out. I mean, disappointed that, I mean, it was a very good fielding from Gizu Rabada. It was a very good throw, good hands with Quinton de Kock, but the batsmen have to put a value on their wicket. You need to dive and see whether you can get through in those tight
Yeah.
situations because the margins are so small.
Yep, fair enough. It did turn at that point. Looked like he was slow, Aslanka, in just turning around, but that's where they've ended 142. Now they are up against the South African batting. That's also a bit short in confidence. We'll just look at the numbers in a bit. But before that, Pathum Nissanka, 72 out of 142. That's a lot of runs for one player who's playing in his first World Cup. He looks the part, Mahela.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very, very good for Sri Lanka. He's just a young talent which is coming through. Especially initially started with Test cricket, then moved on to one day cricket, had a good series in West Indies, and lately he's shown that he's capable of handling. I think he just need experience. The more time he plays, more out there in the middle and be part of the national team, he's going to grow. I mean, he's not your explosive batsman. I think he's got a skill set that allows him to change gears and play those big shots when he needs to. Otherwise, just rotate strike, play the situational game. He needs that in that top four for Sri Lanka, and then he provides that. I thought he batted sensibly. He couldn't do more than what he could have done because there were a lot of wickets falling around him. But he handled himself well so that Sri Lanka could get to this competitive score.
All right. Now, interestingly, we've got Quinton de Kock and Reza Hendrick. So Bavuma's dropped himself down the order, Ajit. And as we look at recent form, Bavuma struggled for runs. There are some chinks, you'd say, in this South African batting. If Sri Lanka get a couple of early wickets.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And Sri Lanka have got some mystery spin and some mystery spin as well. Looks like all the captains, not all, a lot of the captains seem to be dropping themselves down the order
Yeah.
with different teams. But look, they feel because he got runs in the last game as well, and Quinton de Kock has to open, so there's no doubt about it. Plus a left-hander, so sometimes you do what is in the interest of the team, and I think it's a good call. Perhaps in the middle as well, Bavuma against Chin might be an option. Uh, Look, it is South Africa will fancy their chances here. I think they've kept Sri Lanka down to a good score. Again, like Sri Lanka didn't get, if South Africa get off to a start, it might make matters a lot easier.
Mahela, where do you see this one going? The West Indies managed to defend exactly this score yesterday. What will it take for Sri Lanka to do the same?
I think early wickets. I mean, if Sri Lanka can get the early wickets and control that first 10 overs and keep them to uh, probably 70 runs, and that gives Sri Lanka a much better chance once the ball gets softer on that hard surface. Like that's the only way that Sri Lanka can control. Like Ajit says, if South Africa gets to a flying start, which they will come and try to do in the first 6 overs, then it's going to be harder for Sri Lanka.
All right. Well, let's leave it there. I'm seeing a comment coming in on our social channels saying, Mahela, please go back. I mean, go back. I mean, I think they want you to go back to the UAE. I don't know how much he
I'm back. I'm back in. I'm back home. So I'm good.
All right. All right. There's only so much the great Mahela Jayawardene can do from the dugout. Surely. Let's pick up the chat at the end of the game, build up to Australia, England. Thank you, Mahela. Thank you, Ajit. Agarkar. More from you on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout powered by Dell. It's a massive 2 points up for grabs. It's South Africa in what could be a tricky chase. Anything could happen. Join us at the end of the game.
Maruti Suzuki's People Technology presents Suzuki Connect with Navigate to Car and many other features.
Watch more, feel more. Dell.